For fans of the show, Kerry, I don't think you need much of an introduction. Like you were heavily featured in season 3. Like most fans of the show definitely know who you are. But when it comes to like the average football fan or just just whoever stumbles upon this video, they probably won't know who you are, right? So
Right.
just kind of tell me or tell us where you came from, how you got to Indy, what happened when you left, and then how you ended up at West Texas A&M.
Um, well, I'm from small town Nevada. It's called Winnemucca. I was born and raised there, and ended up leaving out of there after I graduated high school. Um, I went and played some junior college football down in California, and then transferred out of there and went and played some more junior college football out in Arizona, and then ended up going back home for a couple years, and then just working and stuff. Living I guess you could say, a normal life. Working a 9 to 5, paying bills, this, that, and the other, and still had some time left to play football, so I hit up a bunch of different colleges, more JUCOs, and really Independence was the only one that kind of hit me back right away and offered me a scholarship. So when I got that news, and they called me, I packed my stuff up and headed out there, following week. And I was there for 18 months and transferred out to Lindenwood University in Missouri. And unfortunately, it just wasn't the right fit for me for football, as well as other, personal things. And so I left there too, right after fall camp, right before classes started in the fall. And just kind of hit up a bunch of schools in the Lone Star Conference, which is, the Texas Conference for D2. And, West Texas, they got right on it, and they, offered me a scholarship, and I'll be there in January.
Oh, so you're not there yet?
No.
No. Okay. So you said you started. So you went from your high school in Nevada. You went to California JUCO. Now,
Yep.
California JUCO, they don't allow scholarships, right?
Not at all.
So that must have been, was that like your first choice coming out of high school, like to go to a California JUCO like that?
Um, well, you see, I only had one. I don't even know if you consider it an offer. I mean, it was kind of just like you could walk on, and we could maybe give you some money if you're good enough. It was an NAIA school, Eastern Oregon University. A bunch of guys from my high school went there. And I was just like, man, I'm 6'5", 300 pounds. Like, I've got some potential, to go play elsewhere and, bigger and better things in some NAIA school in Oregon. And, nothing against that program. Those are great coaches and this and that. But my cousin actually, he used to play down where I played at the same college, Ventura College. And he's kind of how I found out about that, California junior college scene. And so, I hit up a few schools down there, and, basically Ventura College is where I was at. And, when I hit them up, they were just like, wow, dude, we love your film. We love, what, you can do on the field, come out here for a visit. And if you like it, shit, we want you.
Dude, that must be
And,
insane to go to like a school where they're like, yeah, we definitely want you here, but we can't give you money to come to pay for classes or anything. Like,
well, you see, at the time, I had no idea. Honestly, I had no clue about anything, pertaining to college football. I mean, like how the scholarships worked, who offered scholarships. I didn't even really know about scholarships or anything like that. I was just trying to get out of where I was, and I thought football was the only way. And, you know, obviously they got like the NJCAA and those schools can give scholarships. But I didn't even know. I only knew about, you know, the California League. And so I was, you know, I just want to play football. I didn't care how much money I had to pay. And, you know, so I only really hit up California schools. And then after I got done in California, I found out about the, you know, the NJCAA where they could give scholarships and you didn't have to pay an absurd amount of money, you
Oh
know,
man.
play college football, you know. And so, you know, then obviously, uh, you know, I transferred out to Arizona Western on a full ride scholarship, and you know, things kind of changed a little bit.
Dude, no kidding. That must be like that's a true test of like the love of the game. Like you're paying thousands of dollars to play for this school. That seems so backwards, but so
Yeah, it
yeah,
was
that, like
nuts. You even had to like you had to pay. So like in Southern California, like if you're like in state, you don't got to pay anything. Like if you're an in-state student, you know, for California Community College, you got to pay nothing but like a class fee or something. So like $40 a semester or something like that.
oh
But if you're
dude.
out of state, I mean, you got to pay for all your classes. You know, football is a class. I mean, you got to pay to play football. You know, you got to, I don't know, my first semester in California was like upwards of like 10 grand or something like that. You know, just something ridiculous. And
So how long were you at Ventura? Like how were you there just one season or was it multiple?
yeah, I was only there for the fall of 2014. And after paying that much for one semester of community college, I was like, no.
Yeah, no kidding.
I,
Like paying
yeah,
10 grand to play a season for oh my God. So like so you left there, went to Arizona Western and
yeah,
left
like,
Arizona Western for whatever, and then you came back to Indy, right? To
right.
Independence. So
Yep.
when you I think it said in the show like you sent out a bunch of tape and Coach Brown was like one of the few people to reach out and say I want you here, and then like you said you were there like the following week. Had you heard of like Last Chance U at that point? Like did you know what that was?
Yeah, yeah. You know, I'd watched it on Netflix before, you know, with East Mississippi. And you know it's a really good show. But when I went to Independence, you know, my first semester there, you know, like Last Chance U wasn't a thing. Like we were not going to be
Yeah.
featured on a show. You know, Independence was this shitball football team that had 4 years of losing seasons. You know,
Right.
and I didn't know anything about them, honestly. You know, they just said, "Here's a scholarship," and I was like, "All right, dude, here I come." I don't care if you're 0-11. I don't care if you're on your way to the national championship. I'm on my way.
Dude, that's an insane story like just to get to Independence. So like with Last Chance U, so you were already there before they announced they were coming. Like how was that? Was there like uh did Coach Brown was it like a meeting with him they asked if they could come film? Did he like talk to the players or was it pretty much just hey, we're going to be here next season?
Um, you know, honestly, so I got there spring of what year? This is 2018. So I got there spring of 2017. And you know, we went through the whole spring ball with Coach Brown and this and that. And then you know, for our spring game, you know, we heard, you know, like Coach Brown let us know like, hey man, this Netflix crew is gonna come out and film us and, you know, kind of see, you know, who they want for, you know, the next season of the show, you know. Um, but it wasn't like, you know, they're for sure going to come here. You know, it was, they went around multiple different schools in the JHA conference, you know, Garden City, Dodge City, probably Hutchinson. You know, I don't know exactly where they went, but you know, they interviewed and, you know, filmed multiple schools in the conference before actually selecting um, Independence. And they honestly picked Independence because of Coach Brown's colorful
Oh
personality.
yeah, I can imagine. So
You
with
know,
that, with like the baggage Last Chance U carries, was there like I know so you mentioned like how bad Independence was the past few seasons before you got there. Was that like a big impact to attendance? Like the fan support in the show seems like it's pretty strong, but was it always that way before the documentary? And also recruiting. Like I know by the time the series wrapped, everybody had signed or whatever. But was there like ever more coaches because of Last Chance U? Like coaches would say, well, if they're filming a documentary, like surely there's some talent there. We should go check it out.
I don't think the show had anything to do with anybody getting recruited by any school. Um, obviously, word spread around, before the season dropped last July or this last July, that we had the show, but I really don't think that affected really anybody's recruiting before it dropped, because our roster was loaded, before the cameras even got there. And everybody in the country knew it. They knew that Independence was stacked. They knew that we had, some damn good athletes on our team, you know, and I think that's, obviously with Coach Brown's, ability to market us as athletes and, try to get us to the next level. He was able to, I don't know, I guess you could say, sell his sell his players, the proper way, because people knew, we had Rakeem Boyd, we had Malik Henry, and we had, I think we had 27 or 28 Division I bounce backs on our team that one year. So
Holy shit!
that,
I didn't realize it was so many. 27. Oh my gosh.
yeah, our team was loaded. That's why we won conference in a bowl game. I mean, we should have went to the
Yeah.
national championship, but obviously, you saw the turmoil, between players and coaches and coaches and coaches and, all that drama. But, we had a phenomenal amount of, gifted athletes on our team. And
Right. Yeah, I mean,
really,
there's no way to deny that. Like you mentioned Rakeem Boyd. I don't know if we ever talked about it. I live in Arkansas, so of course I'm a Razorback fan. I actually started watching the series because I heard of us recruiting this guy from Last Chance U, which is Rakeem Boyd, and
yeah.
he's the first Arkansas running back to run for 100 plus on Alabama, and like he was playing at Independence
Well,
in Kansas last year. So like there's no way to deny like the amount of talent you guys had.
he's like one of like 7 running backs, but he's the first one since Darren McFadden to run for 100 plus
Right. Yeah.
yards. But yeah, no, Rakeem's out there in Arkansas right now balling, He's got over like 700 yards in the season and, he's doing good things.
Yeah, unfortunately, as a Razorback fan, he's about the only one. 2-9, you can't you can't get much worse. But uh,
Yeah.
so so with that being said, like you're talking about like the turmoil between players and coaches. How does Independence compare to like Ventura College in California and Arizona Western? Like, what are the big differences?
Um, you know, I've been to, multiple different junior colleges, like you just said, and every coach has a different I don't know, philosophy, I guess you can say, as to how they run their program and, the mentality that they bring around their players. And, whether or not, people that watch the show or, whatever, whether they disliked how Coach Brown, approached us as players or this and that, with his colorful language, he's still, his philosophy is family first. And, that's kind of how we shaped that program of Independence while we were there, is everyone on the team, whether we disagreed with coaches or we disagreed amongst players, you know, at the end of the day, when practice was over, when the game was over, and the heat, and the smoke settled, I guess you could say, we were one big family, and we stuck together no matter what. And
Yeah, that
that's
makes
kind of what,
sense.
and that's what Coach Brown kind of instilled into us while we were there. That was the whole, you know, I don't know. I guess you could say philosophy of him is, it's not about you. It's not about me. It's about us. And we need to come together as one in order to do this thing right. And, obviously that's why we won conference in our bowl game.
With that being said, obviously you guys were an incredible team last year. You should have played for the national title, won a bowl game and your conference. Like, what's the difference between, I mean, other than the 27 D1 players that bounce back, what's the difference between that phenomenal year and then this year they're having so far? Like, what are the differences? What's happened so far?
I can't really speak for this year's team. I kind of know some minor, details about what's been going on. They've suffered a lot of injury, and when the show came out, obviously that brings more attention to Independence because, Independence wasn't even on the map before the first, season 3 dropped. And, and there's still some great players at Independence. They're a great team this year, but they've had like multiple injuries, multiple quarterback shifts, O-line shifts, defensive shifts. It's just, they couldn't really get into a groove, I guess you could say, kind of like we did last year, but,
I get that.
Yeah, mostly I kind of talked to Coach Brown a little bit about it when I was up there, and, he just mostly said injuries, they had multiple starters get hurt, and then that just kind of, it just kept spiraling, one thing after another kept, happening. And I'm sure you guys will find out more once season 4 drops. I'm interested to see it as well because I want to know how they went 2-8.
Yeah, I can't wait for it. There's got to be some crazy stuff in it.
Oh yeah.
Like when you were there, filming season 3, how aware of you guys were the cameras? Like, surely after a certain point you would get used to it, but was there ever from watching the series, I can't imagine there was ever a time where Coach Brown held back. But was there ever a time where you guys were more aware of the cameras and kind of kept stuff to closed doors or made them leave or something like that?
At first, it was kind of I don't know. It took a minute to get used to, I guess. Because right when they first got there, we didn't really know, what to expect from them and, kind of what they wanted to film and stuff like that. But they wanted to film everything. I'm talking, they'd be with us in the lunchroom, breakfast, lunch, dinner. They'd be in every meeting. They'd be at every practice. They'd be in the academic buildings when everyone's in class and film us in class, film us, after practice, Do
you feel like it was a distraction at first, or were you guys just good?
It definitely at first, I feel like it kind of, because that first game we had against Iowa Western, it was 70-21. We got our ass kicked. And
Oh, that's is that the game where Coach Brown said he didn't need to watch game film or whatever?
Yeah, he doesn't need to watch film. He's a savant and he can dissect defenses on the run. Yeah. But anyway, he is a smart coach. He probably can. I don't know. He's probably anyway, that's not the point. That first game we got our ass kicked 70-21. And I feel like we kind of lost that game because when Netflix got there, we're like, oh, we're the shit. We're the best team in the conference. Like, well, we're going to be on TV. Like, ain't no one going to be able to touch us. And, that loss that we took at first, humbled us up very quick. And, the distraction of the cameras, and the hype around the cameras, I feel like kind of disappeared. It was like, okay, look, this is real. Like, they're here. but we got to buckle down anyway and get our stuff done. And it kind of went from a distraction, I feel like, to kind of a driving factor is to like, look, you guys want to be the worst team in the conference and be, nationally broadcasted on, like national TV as the worst team of the conference?
Right.
Or do you want to, be on national TV and go down in history as one of the greatest teams Independence has ever had? And I feel like, after taking that 70-21 loss, we all humbled up real quick. And we're like, we need to do this right and not focus on, the cameras and everything else going on.
That's really interesting. I never thought about it being like a motivation thing for you guys, which it makes sense once you said it. Like, it makes sense that it would motivate you not to like look bad on Netflix where millions of people are going to watch it. It makes a lot of sense. So, was there anything like it's really, really easy to push a narrative through editing to make things look like something that it's not? Was there anything you felt like was misrepresented by the editors or by the camera crew or anything?
I can't really speak for anybody else in that fact, but like as for me, and kind of how they depicted myself on the show, um, I don't think they really missed out on anything. You know, um, you know, maybe yeah, I don't know. I feel like they kind of depicted our season in a proper way. They kind of showed the drama of it. But they also showed the positivity behind it and kind of what it did for some of us players and kind of how we were doing throughout that time.
So what about like do you feel that they let's talk like individual players or do you feel like Coach Brown is who Netflix showed him as?
Yes and no. They only showed. I mean, they showed some kind of behind, when he pulls us aside after practice and stuff like that. Um, but they really only showed Coach Brown as this kind of high-tempered, colorful language, kind of person. And sure, that's one side of Coach Brown, but they didn't really dig too deep into the other side of Coach Brown when we're not on the field and we're not in meeting rooms and he's sitting when we're sitting in his office one-on-one for hours, talking about our personal lives and him helping us through personal struggles and as well as on the field struggles or in the classroom struggles, giving us life advice, being not I don't know, slap dick, whatever you want to say, just, not seeing the side of Coach Brown where he's not sitting there cussing us out and, being, that person that they showed on the show, because, behind closed doors, when we're not on the field and we're not at practice or during the game and, tempers aren't flared, Coach Brown is one hell of a dude. And he'll do anything for you. He'll give the shirt off his back for anybody and anybody that's in his program.
So that's really interesting you say that because my next question is so you said you've watched Last Chance U. So in season I think it was season one, the like Ronald Ollie, he was there and they did like a follow up interview once he had left for Nickel State, and his opinion was of Coach Buddy Stevens was quote fuck that boy for real. So it's really interesting to see that you have such a high opinion of Coach Brown, who seemed like Netflix made Buddy Stevens seem like a very, very nice Christian, down to earth Southern boy, where Coach Brown is like the guy from the West Coast with the Cadillacs and the beach house. It's such a different portrayal of Coach Stevens and Coach Brown. But all of Coach Stevens' players, it seems like, really, really didn't care for him. While on the other hand, like the opposite end of the spectrum, like you seem like you have a lot of respect for Coach Brown even after you left the program.
Yeah, no doubt. Coach Brown, like I say, he'll take, like, if you're not, so with Coach Brown, what a lot of people, obviously, the show can show what they want and they can edit what they want into that. And I don't disagree with how they portrayed him because obviously we all saw that side of him. But at the same time, there's these things that he would do for, like, if you're not, as he put it, the epitome of a fuck stick, or, you if you're one of the people on the team that, take care of your business and do right, Coach Brown is the kind of guy that will reward those kind of people, like, if they need help. You know what I'm saying? And because he looks out for his own, and as long as you're not doing him dirty, that man's gonna take care of you,
So now that you've left the program and you're kind of on the outside looking in, has your opinion of him changed any?
Not at all. No.
I don't know. Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit. So the reason that you are at West Texas A&M is because you've said it on your Instagram a couple of times. People ask questions, why aren't you playing D1? And so you always say there's a limited amount of time. And I think one of the players in this series actually ran into it as well. There's only like 4 years you can play Division One once you start playing football. So where would you be at? So you're at West Texas. Where would you be right now if your eligibility hadn't ran out? Where do you think you'd be playing?
I'd definitely be playing I'd definitely be playing in front of a couple 100,000. I probably couldn't tell you anywhere specific. Um, but I did have offers from, and interest being shown by multiple, I'm talking 20 plus Division I schools. And unfortunately, with my eligibility, my clock being done and getting injured, that interest eventually fell off and the offers fell off and, stuff like that. But, I could honestly be playing at any Division I in the country right now if things would have gone to plan.
So let's look at like there are situations where um, so like how do I phrase it? So there are very much like the NFL attitude that a lot of players have, where even in I think especially at East Mississippi, there were even third and fourth string guys that are like, I don't need to do schoolwork. I'm going to the NFL. But with you and Rakeem Boyd especially, it seems like you guys definitely have the talent and the skill set and everything. And with the NFL being the way it is, you see a lot of the NFL teams like not being afraid to take um, guys from no name schools I know South Dakota State was as a big school in their in FCS or whatever, but Carson Wentz drafting him whatever second overall was crazy. And then guys like Ali Marpet plays for the Bucks. He's an offensive lineman from Division III Hobart. And then Tariq Cohen from North Carolina A&M State went fourth round to the Bears. Like, does stuff like that and situations like that, does it make you like uh, more more hopeful for the draft process? Because it certainly seems like NFL teams are like, this guy has the size, this guy has the skill set, this guy has like the attitude we want. We're going to take him no matter where he comes from. Does that like make you like less worried about the draft process?
Um, I mean, yeah, I mean, if you got the ability and you got the talent, the NFL, they're everywhere, like NFL scouts, they show up, when I was at Lindenwood, they're at practice every week, you know. So I mean, if you got the talent and you got, all the, I don't know, I guess you could say the proper characteristics in order to make it to the league, they're gonna find you no matter where you're at. Whether it's at Alabama or, Arkansas or, South Dakota State, like you said, they'll find you. So it definitely it gives you hope, I guess, if you're at a smaller school. I try not to think too far ahead into that. That's obviously a goal of mine to make it to the NFL. Um, but I'm really more worried about what's going to go on next season than, what's going to happen 2 years from now if I get to the draft. You know what I mean? But knowing that, I guess you can say is like, yes, it does give me hope. Like just because I'm at a D2 and I didn't make it to my D1, goals or whatever,
Yeah.
there's still that possibility of me being able to get to the league where I'm at. If that makes sense. I don't know if that made sense.
No, no, it makes sense. So you mentioned earlier you're 6'5", 300 pounds. I think you're very technically skilled, which matters a lot because it seems like you have the size and the ability to play, not just center like you did at Independence, but most interior line positions. So I
So
know
I
as
played tackle.
you play tackle at Independence.
I played center and left tackle Independence.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yikes! I didn't watch the show good enough. Um, so I know as like when it comes to basketball, like it's easier, like you take somebody's shot form or whatever. So like you're Steph Curry or you're Kobe, but compare your game to somebody. Who would you compare yourself to in the NFL?
Um, that's a tough question, man. um, I
Which
don't really
I
like.
understand it is because I mean, like I'm sure not many players or not many kids are like 10 years old and they're going to be like, I'm going to play like Joe Thomas or Willie Roaf or I'm sure trying to model yourself after a lineman in the NFL is difficult, but
Um, growing up, actually, I didn't even want to play lineman. I want to play linebacker. Because I was in love with Lawrence Taylor. Still am. Like that's my idol there. Like that's who I grew up watching, and who I really, just basically that asshole mentality of if you're in front of me, you're gonna die before I die because I'm gonna kick your ass time after time after time. That's kind of that mentality that Lawrence Taylor always had. That kind of you know grew on me as well growing up. But I guess if you want to talk about linemen that I look up to, or I'm not going to say I can compare myself to them because everyone's different. I kind of, want to make my own name out there. But, I kind of look up to Brandon Sheriff. He played at Iowa. He's playing for the Redskins now. Marshall Yonda, he's a savage out there. And Marquise Pouncey, center. And that's kind of my guy too, Marquise Pouncey. I really like watching him. He plays for the Steelers, and he's phenomenal.
yeah, Pouncey and Yonda, man, those are
Yeah,
two maulers for sure.
as well as Tyrone Taylor from the Cowboys. He plays left tackle, and he's a brick shit house. No one can touch him. So it's always a good time watching those guys. Watching how they their technique that they have, and kind of what they do in order to continue to succeed at that high level of competition.
That makes a lot of sense. So let's go back to Independence. So you said you guys sent 27 players to Division One. So that makes me really wonder, um, what was that locker room like? Like the competition, was there a lot of like jealousy between guys? Maybe like the wide receivers, like I'm not getting enough targets, so I'm not going to have as much film, so I'm not going to get as good of a school. Was there like a lot of unhealthy competition, or was Coach Brown good at like stroking kids' egos and keeping everybody like just happy?
Um, honestly, it wasn't really Coach Brown that did all that. It's like I said, we were a family, out there. Everybody. I mean, I'm not saying everyone was best friends and this and that, but when it came down to business time and even off the field, we're all pretty close. But we knew who was really good on the team, who was better than who, and I'm not saying anyone's better than anybody, because everyone's got potential, to do this or do that, but I feel like we never really we didn't even worry about it. It was just kind of like, if you're a starter, like that's your position, right? But if you got someone else that's right behind you that could possibly take your spot, it was like, come on, we're gonna compete for this. If you want it, you're gonna have to earn it, type of thing. And if someone beats someone else out, it wasn't like, oh, you're this or you're that. It's like, good job, brother. Go get yours. Like, I'm gonna be right behind you. Supporting you and waiting for my time to shine. Because everyone in junior college, we all have the same goals. We all want to go play at a university. And it was no hate for who was in front of you, and it was no hate for who was second string behind you. It was we all have an opportunity, and whoever gets that opportunity, you want the best for them no matter what.
That's really interesting to hear because that's about what I thought you would say. But just comparing that locker room culture with at Independence, I feel like at East Mississippi, it was always more of an attitude of I'm just here so I can leave for something better. But I really did get that feeling from you guys. There was a lot of competition between um, like running backs and quarterbacks and stuff at East Mississippi. But with you guys, it felt like everyone like understood we're here because of whatever. Let's just make the best of this situation and then move on. But it really felt like with East Mississippi, they were just like, I hate being here. I just want to leave. Let's get the season over and get that D1 offer. So it's like it's really interesting to hear that you guys were so close, even with the cameras and with the 70-21 loss and with all of the turmoil from the bad seasons before. Like it's really interesting to hear that the locker room culture was so good.
Yeah, like I said, man, it was like a brotherhood out there. Like we all just wanted the best for each other and wanted to see everyone succeed. You know.
Well, I mean, as any team should be. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome because, like I said, at East Mississippi, like of course, with editing, like we discussed, they can push whatever narrative, but I really didn't get that vibe at East Mississippi. But so with that being said, so you're talking about second stringers, if they want this spot, come get it. You got to earn it. I want to talk about this attitude that I feel like every player had. Um, I feel like I don't know how to describe it without I'm like not being uh, snarky or something, but I feel like every
Just
player
go for it.
thinks that they can play in the NFL. And so there were situations with certain players in season one, especially guys like Ronald Ollie. Um, he his attitude was like, I don't need to do classwork. I don't need to try very hard because I've got the natural ability. So it like why is it? What is it um, about community college football, JUCO football, that most players are just so convinced that they're NFL talent?
Um, I couldn't tell you honestly. And I'm not going to speak for Ronald Ollie. He's a great athlete. He's doing big things in Nicholls State. I don't even know him honestly.
Oh, no doubt.
Um,
I mean, now that he's at Nichols, he seems like a completely different person.
oh, he
But
had a great
but in the
season.
in the series, there were players that were um, so that there are guys like you have the size and the skill and the technique that you could be playing on Sundays, and guys like Rakeem Boyd, like he has the the vision when he's running, the power when he's running, he has the speed and the ball skills. But then there were guys that were like a little bit undersized for their position. There were third stringers at Independence or at East Mississippi, and they were still like, I'm going to make the league. And I don't know. It's from the outside looking in. I was never a college athlete. I played high school basketball at a school in Arkansas. where it actually shut down this year because there were not enough students to justify keeping it open. So like I don't know from experience, but it seems crazy to me that everybody is so like, I'm going to the NFL. It doesn't matter. I don't need to do homework. I don't care if Division 1 makes me do homework. Like I'm an NFL talent.
Um, I don't know. I think you know, I don't know. At that level, it's kind of hard to tell. Who can make it to the league and who can't. Like, you know, um, unless like obviously Raheem's going to the NFL. You can tell that. But there's some guys that I feel like take more time to develop into those kind of athletes. Whether it be just because of coaching in high school or just commitment of to the sport and really trying to be the best person slash athlete that you can be. And there are a lot of people that do hold themselves to very high expectations like that, to make it to the league. And some of those people that have those high expectations of themselves, like, if we're talking about reality here, they're just full of shit.
Right.
Like they're just dreaming, which is fine. It's cool to have a dream, it's cool to go out and pursue that dream, but eventually you got to be realistic with it, and there's some people that I feel like, may not, um, you know, see the reality of that situation. So whether they're first string, second string, or third string, they think that they can do it. And if they're gonna bust their ass to play for their junior college and get to a university and hopefully make it to the NFL, then more power to them. Good for you for continuing to pursue that dream. Um, but at the same time, there's the guys that are like, I'm king shit, so I'm just going to coast through here and not go to class and show up late to practice and not work out. I'm just going to coast by on my talent, and those are
Right.
the kind of guys that I feel get lost in the system, because I've known multiple people that, could have the possibility of going to the NFL or playing Division 1 football, but they're so full of themselves, like, oh, I'm the best thing since sliced bread. Ain't nothing gonna happen to me because they need me out here. And it's like, no, dude, because tomorrow we can have someone else come in here and replace your ass.
Yeah,
You
so
know,
that was the thing that I didn't get because there are there are players that are very naturally gifted. Like I understand that, but it felt like the players, uh, it was the ones that weren't going to class. They weren't practicing hard. They were not doing their, not turning in assignments, not going through all the extra steps to get to the next level. It felt like those
mm-hmm.
were always the guys that were so open to saying, I'm going to the league, I'm playing in the NFL. And it was like it seems oxymoronic to me. Like those are the guys that don't really want to put in the work at a community college, but they were always the ones that were so like sure and full of themselves, like that they were definitely playing in the NFL. So I don't know, it's just so crazy to me because you never saw guys
I feel,
like you or like Raheem or Malik Henry, who is the number 1 quarterback in the country coming out of high school, or any of those guys. You guys were never like, I'm going to the NFL. Don't even worry, I don't have to work hard. It was always the guys that are second strings, slouching in class, and all of this and that. So I don't know. Just watching it was very frustrating to watch. Um, watch guys like Ronald
I think,
Ollie, and
I
they're
think a
just
lot of it has to do with maturity. Just as a man. You know, um, like a lot of the people that think, that haven't had the experience of being in college football and seeing, just how deep and how many people actually come through there at once, and how many people are competing every single day, to try to get a spot at a university, get the scholarship, get this, get that. The maturity level of some people make them think, like, hey, look, I'm king. I was king shit in high school. I was the best running back in my, in my conference and this and that. So I'm automatically the best anywhere else I go. And some people, they, their eyes get open real quick to like, oh shit, maybe I'm not the best, because there's someone else out there that can do the things I can do, just as good or not better, and some guys are too immature to actually see that and actually buckle down and get the work done like they're supposed to.
Yeah, I would agree with that because I think that maybe more in college basketball, but definitely in football. Like when you go to a school, it feels like you've been told you're the best at your whole life. Like you're a star in high school, you expect to be a star in college and in the pros. But it feels like once you make that jump from high school to college, even high school to nothing against community college, but going from a high school to Alabama or a high school to East Mississippi, like there's obviously lower competition levels, I would say. But even then, it feels like this, like they're a second string, or they're not working hard, but they still feel like their head is still filled with that. I'm the best on the field, even if they're
Wait, lower
clearly not.
competition where? Like lower competition at their high school or lower competition at their junior college?
Well, just like Alabama compared to East Mississippi, or Alabama compared to Alabama's like SEC, and then Jayhawk conference. SEC and Jayhawk conference is
Yeah,
just
to be honest with you, and a lot of people don't really realize it. Uh, there's some junior college teams out there that will whoop the shit out of some SEC teams.
oh,
Um,
brother, I'm an Arkansas fan. I watched us get our ass kicked by a couple FCS teams this year. I have
yeah,
no
man.
doubt
Like,
Independence would have whooped our ass last year.
yeah, just because you're at junior college, obviously, our roster was loaded, but there's, fucking 50 plus other junior college football teams out there with, you know, talented athletes also,
Right.
so some of the talent on those rosters, just because you're at a junior college doesn't mean you're not good,
Right. No,
because
that's
there's
not what I'm saying though.
rosters
That's
out
not
there
what
that
I'm
are better
saying.
than
I
some
hope I
SEC.
hope you're not taking it like that. Well, what I'm saying is so let's say this kid has been fed you're the best, and then coming out of high school he goes somewhere he's not the best, and then he's at a community college, like his
Yeah.
attitude is still I'm the best even though he played with the best, and then now he's at a lower level of college football. Like it just blows my mind to see those guys still have that attitude after they played somewhere, and then now they're having to try to get back to that place where they think they should be, but they still have the attitude like I'm going to play in the NFL.
That's that maturity thing I was talking about earlier. You know, um, some guys it takes them a minute to kind of see the big picture as to like, oh shit, maybe I am wrong, maybe I did do wrong, and this is my last chance to make it right. And some people
Yeah,
don't ever see that, and that's why they get lost in the system. But then there's others, that wake up and be like, oh, shoot, I made a mistake. I did wrong here. I have a second chance here at this, junior college. It's a lower level of competition, at times, but it's also a great opportunity to get back on my feet and get back to where I'm supposed to be, and where I know that I can, compete and play and, be the best,
right. I mean I agree with that absolutely, and it's nothing. I'm 6'4", 250. You guys and anybody that ever plays college athletics is infinitely a better athlete than me. So it's not like I'm talking smack or anything like that. I just don't get the attitude of some players, like you said, players with the maturity. They say this is a great chance, a great opportunity to get back to the D1 level. But it's crazy to me to see the guys that were at D1 and then they have to, because of grades or because of um, whatever the situation is. There were situations with DeAndre Johnson and his thing at FSU, and then the guy that was at Texas Tech, and there were just situations where they ended up at Independence or at East Mississippi. But it feels like those guys without the maturity, like you're absolutely right. a player that has the mentality to play on Sundays, they absolutely say, I'm going to use this as a stepping stone to get back to where I know I should be. But it feels like the guys that were so much like, I know I'm going to play in the NFL, they were the guys that just weren't putting in the work, didn't care. And I don't know, it was just frustrating to see because you see these guys with God-given talent, with natural talent for the sport, but without a drive, without a motor, like you see them constantly outperformed by guys that aren't as talented, but just work so much harder and care so much more for the sport than they do. Like it's just frustrating as a fan to see, like especially as an Arkansas fan to watch some of those guys just, you know, outside of Rakeem Boyd, what's Arkansas's offense? Two-star receivers and a guy that threw 6 passes before this season. Like it's crazy to see. I don't know, the desire and will to play just isn't there for guys that are naturally talented, and it was really frustrating to watch in the series.
Yeah, I know. There's the kind of thing that I kind of, you know, it's not like my whole mentality, but it's just a part of kind of how I approach, my what I do in order to, keep myself on track. And it's like, hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard. And I feel like, like I said, I can't speak for anybody else, um, you know, but I feel like a lot of guys that come from the Division One or were these big 5-star, highly touted recruits out of high school, they're entitled almost to, what the articles and what the news people say about, who they are as an athlete and as a person. And it kind of gets to their heads, so, once they get to that high level and they have, they mess up or whatever, and they have to drop down to a lower level, such as junior college, that entitlement of like, oh man, I'm too good to be here, or I'm this or I'm that, I should be here instead of being here. It's like, it's really tough to say. But, I just feel like some players are entitled to that, entitled to being the best, entitled to having the, all these tools and, being at Florida State or being at Oregon or, Arkansas or, wherever else. I feel like it becomes an entitlement issue rather than what's the word, rather than just, realizing that you're no better than this other guy that has 0 stars and has been busting his ass for years to try to get to where you're at. Because at one point or another, you guys both had 0 stars.
Yeah, and my beef with that is it's not so much you guys like with independence, because like I said earlier, like I really the show portrayed the locker room as like a healthy environment. Like I know Coach Brown was fiery and used a lot of colorful language, but it really seemed like you guys were like brothers, like you keep saying, like you guys were brothers, like it was a big brotherhood there. But man, at East Mississippi, it really felt like not to call people out, but like John Franklin III, like he just could not beat out that other quarterback all season. That other quarterback walked on at Mississippi State, and John Franklin III goes to Auburn or whatever. But it just feels like a lot of players, man, they just don't have the maturity like that. And like I said, it was mostly East Mississippi with like Ronald Ollie and John Franklin and all that. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just frustrating to see because, like you said, like hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard. And the thing that I wish some people would realize, and like guys like you and Rakeem and Calvin Jackson and other players realize is like you're only as good as your current situation. Like I'm only if I don't do good here, then this is the end. Like if I have to do good here, this is a stepping stone. Like this isn't. I can't take this for granted. And a lot of players just weren't like that, and it was just frustrating to watch because I mean I'm only 24, so it's like watching guys that are 22. I don't know. It feels stupid for me to like be judging people that I would have went to high school with or whatever, but it was just frustrating because even our mentalities are so different. Like not me and you, but me at 24 with a child and I'm married and everything, and a kid that's like naturally talented but doesn't work hard. I'm like, man, if I was in your position, I'd be lifting every day, I'd be running, I'd be doing this. But it's just interesting to see your perspective from it because you were very much portrayed in this series as like I think you were injured to start the season and you were just like I need to be on the field. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get back on the field. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to do all this stuff. And then there were guys that were like sitting out practice because he twisted his ankle. Like the mentality between you and then some of the other guys was so crazy. So I don't know. It was frustrating as a fan, like a football fan, and then a fan of the show, just to see guys just kind of taking it for granted, kind of throwing it away. Um, but yeah, that's let's get away from that because I feel like we kind of weren't on the same page to start, and like I said, you guys infinitely better athlete than me. I've never played football. I just watch football. So um, back to the NFL. So you are a junior. You'll be a junior at West Texas. Is that right?
Yeah.
So what is your I know it's a few years out and you said you don't like to think about it, but what are your plans? Like do you feel like Last Chance U brings you a little more exposure when it comes to draft time, like with that Last Chance U cloud above your head?
Um, I don't know about when it comes to that time. It's definitely brought like a lot of exposure from like um, like arena teams and CFL teams and agents and stuff like that have hit me up since the show started or
Oh, those
since the
people
show.
are contacting you.
Um, I don't really feed into any of it, because I'm still on this college journey of mine. Um, and I don't know. I don't really know what the exposure that this show has brought to me, will do for me, in years to come. I kind of want to find out, because it definitely did, help, get my name out there and kind of show, the kind of person that I am. And, I'm sure it'll probably help, to kind of let people know what my character is, inside and outside of football. But I don't know. I'm just as curious as you as to see how that will affect my, draft status if it ever comes to that.
So just to wrap this up, I know we've been talking a while. It's kind of gone longer than I told you it would.
No
So
worries, man.
with the
I got
show,
nothing to do.
like, does it make you want to have? Do you wish you had one more season of Independence with this show there?
Mm, no, not at all.
I don't know. So okay, that's actually surprising to hear. So last question then. Overall, good or bad, how would you do it again? Like how has the show impacted you? Would you go through that again? Okay, would you come to Independence knowing Last Chance U was there?
Um, man.
Now this is the question I was most excited to ask because I'm really interested to hear your opinion on it.
So okay, so the question is, would I come?
So you're being recruited by Coach Brown.
Yep.
Netflix has already announced Last Chance U will be there. You haven't signed anywhere. You have offers elsewhere, whatever the situation was. Would you come there, knowing Last Chance U would be there filming?
Man, you gonna put me in this? I think so. Just because of kind of how I don't know. I feel like how our whole thing came together. I don't think that'll ever happen again anywhere in any program. As far as who we had on the roster and stuff like that. So I mean, if it was like the same thing that happened, for season 3, if like that was going to happen again, then hell yeah, I would do it again because it was awesome. It was probably one of the best experiences of my life. Um, but if I had to come back for season 4 and go 2-8, Hell no. No way.
Okay, that's a good answer, I would say. That's all I got. If you have anything you want to talk about, man, just spit it out. But I'm out of questions, so we can wrap this up if you got, unless you have anything.
Um, I don't really got nothing to say, besides watch out for West Texas A&M. Next year, we're looking to take the Lone Star by storm.
Damn, those are big words, dude. All right, man. I know I'll be following you, so.
Yeah.
So, all right. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, man.
All right.
It was good talking to you.